50 days, less than 2 months, and you have a full return on your investment for one masternode. Payout time is 2 hours. Active masternodes, 170. With the number of coins or percentage of coins locked up, 57%. That's increased since we've updated the statistics on masternodes online. Not necessarily at the point where LPC is well over 70%, which was our goal that we met as a community, being able to have a higher increase in the percentage of coins that are locked up. 1.94 in terms of its overall value in BTC, 12,264 in terms of US fiat. So this is the price action that we see that's happened over since launching our masternodes online, and we see this it's a major pullback, and it looks as if we might be getting some support around $12 or so. Since we had that pullback, we see some of these traditional lifts, and we see that resistance here, and it looks like the resistance generally is serving now as support, considering that it's $12.26. So it looks like it may be serving as some level of support as there's a pullback. But who knows what's going to happen at the end of the day. Let's look at the comparison relative to BTC. Same thing. We see that general price action. We've kept up with Bitcoin relatively well, and we see here that there is a pullback, but it's the case we have some general level of support right around here at 191,000 Satoshi. So hopefully we can hold that level. Looking at that resistance here, which typically turns into support on the way back down. We ran into some resistance here at almost 300,000 Satoshi, and then there was a pullback. But it's the case, I expect us to have some level of support right around 191,000 Satoshi. So that's where we are with LGS. Roughly 57% of the coins locked up. We would like to get that to the goal of 70%, similar to LGS, but we'll take it as it comes. With LitePay coin, let's see, down 28% with a volume of around 600,000, 4.7 million in terms of our market cap, 1,600 masternodes in the network with ROI of 543%. We go into some of the details. $30 per day at 14.93 LPC payout on average. So nominal price $2.05. We definitely took a beating over these last few days. I think we've lost almost 50% of the nominal price, and well over 50% of our market cap just in this most recent pullback. But I'm hopeful, and this is a resilient coin. We have a resilient community, great team in place. Almost 67 days for a complete return on investment. 1,600 masternodes. At the same time, the supply is 2.2 million LPC. The percentage of coins locked up, roughly around 70%. As I mentioned earlier, I think 2 or 3 webinars, we're coming off of the highest reward cycle or profit cycle for LPC, where the payouts to the masternodes, it's much higher. And as a result, more and more coins are being placed into the market. And we were at around 73%, 72, 73% in terms of coins locked up. But that's an additional 2% because we've decreased from that 73%, 72% or so in terms of percentage of coins locked up, which means that those coins are actually being placed on the market, which puts downward price pressure on the coin. Now that we've entered into the cycle whereby the rewards will be decreased, it's the case we expect that it will have some recovery in terms of the nominal price, and also some of the in our market cap as well. But we have both macroeconomic conditions when you look at the overall cryptocurrency market and the masternode market as well, putting downward pressure on the price, in addition to the microeconomic factors of our reward cycle or payment cycle for proof of stake and masternodes supporting the network. So it's a lot of oversupply coming into the market, but now we've entered into a phase where that will begin to decrease. With that said, $2,000 roughly for a masternode, 0.32 BTC relative to Bitcoin. We have broken a level of, when you look at the price of LPC compared to the USD, typically, if you were to draw a line here from the lowest points that we've had a nice little positive trend line that was here, and I was expecting us to hold support here, right around $4 and between $3.10 and $4. But if you were to draw a nice regression line through here, or at least a support line here from these 2 points here, you'd see that we've broken our support. So now we're last closing price from yesterday was $2.53. So who knows where that support level is going to be at this point, but let's do the comparison relative to BTC. It looks as if we are looking to hold somewhat as compared to BTC in terms of where we are in our traditional lines of support. If we were to draw an exponential moving average around this, we would see that we are slightly below that moving average. Perhaps I would go to another slide, another view on an exchange, so we could actually see some of those moving averages. So that's where we are in terms of our statistics. Explaining it at a macro level, we've lost about 50 billion in the cryptocurrency market cap. That's obviously had an impact on not only BTC but also the alternative coins. I think given what's happening in these coming weeks that we may have some recovery, but we'll only see with time. So I'll take a quick pause there to see if there are any questions around just the general statistics for LGS LPC.
So we got nothing around the stats. There are questions, but maybe we can save those until after you kind of get through your agenda.
Great. Okay. I'd like to begin to discuss in general some issues that have been happening in the community. Recently, there was a scare around potential hacks. I know earlier we talked about someone creating a wallet that may exploit the network in an undesirable way. We put out a warning, which I think is good. Although we get threats like every day. There are some hackers saying, "Oh, we're going to take down your network." It's the case that Vlad or myself or Brenimir, it's at the point we assess the situation. We may make announcements, we may not make announcements depending on the level of the threat. But it's the case that anytime there is a threat and we receive information from the community and there is some level of confirmation, we let you know what's happening with and how a hack may impact our community and how it's potentially impacting others as well. With that said, we put out the warning earlier about the wallet hack for LPC, potential wallet hack. No one downloaded it. It's the case. We monitored the Explorer. We did some tests on that particular wallet. Didn't see any threat coming as well. But it's the case. We understand it was someone who paid an anonymous so-called hacker to build the wallet. The hacker probably just took the person's 5 BTC and just ran with it and didn't necessarily do anything. But just to be cautious, we did make that announcement. Also, this week we did have a threat to the just the Masternode community in particular, as it relates to one new project that came out. This project was the social trader coin. With the social trader coin, it's the case that the wallet had an exploit, and the exploit was such that anyone who had the social trader wallet on their desktop, on their virtual machine, that might have had not only social trader wallet, but any other wallet on that machine, the exploit was such that it executed code on your system to search your entire operating system for any wallet.dat file. And as we know, most of the wallets are forks from Bitcoin wallets, and the file that has all information related to, say, your private keys, it's stored in your wallet.dat file, your wallet.dat file. With this particular exploit in that social trader wallet, it searched your operating system for any wallet.dat file that exists on your entire operating system. Because it's the case that it searched, it finds that wallet. It could be an LPC wallet, could be an LGS wallet, could be a Bitcoin wallet, could be a PIVX, a Dash wallet. Any wallet that's on that particular operating system, and it's named wallet.dat, that file was saved, it was captured, and it was piped to an IP address originating out of Russia. It could be any country. Who knows what's happening, but it's the case. It was taking that wallet.dat file and sending that wallet.dat file to an IP address originating out of Russia. So it's the case that your funds, if you had an LPC wallet and a social trader wallet, your LPC wallet was stolen, or it was taken. Now, there was another coin that was involved in that particular exploit with social trader. That coin, I think it was B-Card. I'm not quite sure. It's at the point where I asked for some resolution about the members who might have been involved in that community with a shared hosting service. But it's the case that that hosting service had social trader on it, and all the coins on that shared Masternode service, those coins got hacked. I was able to confirm the exploit working with a community member whose wallet was who had problems with their wallet, who wasn't syncing at all. So I worked through the issue with that particular investor, and we noticed that he had a certain balance. After we synced the wallet, that balance no longer existed. I was attempting to troubleshoot a wide variety of different ways, looking at if there was trouble syncing or adding nodes, looking to see what transactions left from that particular wallet. So it was a case that there was not an IP address, there was a public key address for LPC that sent out the funds from his LPC wallet to an unknown address. And at that point, I was puzzled, and we saw where he was able to create addresses, but that address, that unknown address to which those funds were sent, was not a created address in his wallet. So I was puzzled, and then at that point, I'd heard earlier in the day about the hack and in the shared Masternode service, and then I just began to ask him questions around, okay, what else is on your operating system in terms of wallets? And he disclosed, yes, he had a social trader wallet on his desktop. And then I disclosed to him, hey, there was a hack. And at that point, it became obvious that he had been a victim of that particular exploit. So what I recommend This not only happened with Social Trader Coin, but there's also an exploit. We do have some white hats in our community, white hat hackers in our community that put their ears to the railroad to try to understand what's happening. And I was also informed that there was another coin as well, Ducat, that had the same exploit. So this is a threat not only to Ducat, Social Trader, and the Masternode hosting services, but it's also a threat to us as well, LPC and LGS community. So I had a discussion with some of the moderators about some of the recommendations that we can make moving forward. And one of those recommendations is what I would prefer, only LGS, LPC. If you're making investments and you have a wallet and you have desktop wallets, only LGS, LPC. Alternatively, because I know that's not the case and members may have investments outside of LPC and LGS, I make the recommendation that you could create some virtual environments on your system, create as many virtual environments as possible, isolated virtual environments with each having its own operating system. You can put a Linux box in a virtual environment. You can also do Windows. You could also build different images, and with these different images or multiple images of Linux or Debian, Ubuntu, it may be the case multiple versions of Windows in that virtual environment. And for each virtual environment, you place that wallet into that virtual environment to isolate. If you were to download another wallet, it would be the case that the wallet would be isolated to that particular virtual environment and not jump over into, say, your main operating system that you built, but that the partition drives that you created and the environments that you have created within the same. That's one approach. Another approach that I recommended as well is, because of your investment, if you have lots of LPC and lots of LGS, as some owners do, particularly the Masternode owners and the high value proof of stake confirmation wallets as well, I made the recommendation that if you value your LPC and LGS investments as well into the thousands or even hundreds of dollars, make the investment and go to Amazon.com and purchase a Raspberry Pi, which is a Linux-based system where you could download a wallet. It's about $75 for a kit. And you can assemble that computer in less than 25, 30 minutes, and you can launch your drive as long as you have access, say, a monitor that you can view and you can connect to that machine. You could have that wallet stored on that device, and it's the case it's isolated from everything else. So if you have two wallets, LPC, LGS, and you want to make sure that you're not infected, our system does not have that particular exploit. I reviewed the code myself, looked at the wallets, so that we do not have any of the exploits. We had some white hat hackers in our community to look at not only our source code, but also any various running processes and potential exploits or potential issues that we might have with exploits being introduced. We looked at various software that exists within the wallet, and there were some recommendations that were made, but it's the case that we would need to have some build in a cycle to make our wallets a bit more robust. So once again, Ducat and Social Trader wallets were hacked. They had an exploit that searched your operating system for wallet.dat files. Once they found the wallet.dat files for any wallet, they sent those files to a Russian IP address, and funds were stolen. I was particularly concerned how some in the shared Masternode, the community manager from, I think it was BCAR, made I'm not quite sure. I did ask for a clarification so we could post in our community and I can make an announcement here, but it's the case I haven't received that clarification announcement. So it's the case they mentioned that the wallets were encrypted. When it was hacked on the shared Masternode service, they mentioned that it was encrypted. And the question that I immediately had was, how could a wallet that file be stolen, and at the same time being stolen because it was encrypted, the person who stole it or the entity that stole it could not hack the wallet because it was encrypted. But the individual said that the funds were encrypted on that, or that wallet was encrypted, and that hack potentially broke encryption. Now that concerns me about the ability to break encryption on wallets. So that's something that we'll continue to look out for. I'm not quite sure if it was a fully truthful statement or not, but I'm just going on the evidence presented. So the wallet supposedly was encrypted, and the hacker, whoever it was, broke encryption. So that's something that we're going to look out, and I'll inform the community as we move forward. So the alternative to stay safe, if you're paranoid like myself, buy multiple Raspberry Pis, Linux-based systems, download the Linux-based wallet off of our website, or purchase multiple cheap computers that you can have in your home, and in each one you install a wallet on each one, or within the current PC that you're using, desktop or mobile, your desktop wallet, your desktop operating system, or your laptop, it's the case, you can create virtual environments, and you can go to Google, or you can Google or go to YouTube and type in create multiple virtual environments. So you can partition the drives, you can put images on those drives of Windows, Linux, or any other operating system, and then install a wallet on each one. For each virtual environment that you create on your operating system, you will only put one, and only one wallet. So if it is the case you have a Ducat, or you do have a Social Trader on one of those one of those virtual environments, it won't impact in any of the other virtual environments or your main operating system. So, and once again, that was under the assumption Ducat and Social Trader still had that hack. But from what I understand, Social Trader they brought in a team to actually devs from across the community, and we have to stick together, and I think that was a good thing. And we did have some other devs who helped us to evaluate potential threats that we had to our network as well. And I think that should be the case. We shouldn't be in isolated boxes and not communicate with each other. So I'll take a pause right there to take questions around the hack, and then we can move into the next topic around partnerships.
No questions around the hack.
Okay, last but not least, the last topic I have, we're at 10:30, I'm a little bit over. We have several partnerships that we've entered into that would help us strategically, and I'd like to just briefly talk about each one. For the first partnership that we have in place, and we mentioned it on the announcement channel, was YourX.io. YourX.io is a one-click Masternode service, and also it also has available staking as well. So you can do both staking and have a shared Masternode to try to remove the issues around investors being socially engineered. And I think it's helpful, and solutions like that will help this community be much more sophisticated and not necessarily socially engineered, have tools available to make it easy, and you can feel safe that your funds won't be hacked. We did a brief security audit with the team over at YourX.io, and they are robust. They're in a position where they could handle sufficient number of one-click masternodes. So I did post out the URL for YourX.io, and I would encourage you all to use them, not only because they have the one-click shared masternode service, but we've also taken an equity stake into that entity for the purpose of acquiring or having them to, or encourage them to continue moving down the path of acquiring a business license or a banking license, so to trade from any fiat into any cryptocurrency, and from any cryptocurrency into any fiat. Any government fiat. This will facilitate, once we have the ATM machines in different regions of the world, for us to exchange LPC, LGS, or any other coins that we subsequently add to our payment net or to our network, the ability to exchange into government fiat, or the ability for government fiat to be exchanged into the currency that we have within our ATM machine. So that was a strategic partnership that we took, us making an investment into that entity so that we could be able to lay the foundation for building other layers on top of our ATM network. But having the banking license is a necessary condition. We have no option. We have to have some type of banking license to go into government fiat. So that's the reason for that partnership. The next partnership that we have in place is with SaveNode. It's the case that they're building a wide variety of different mobile or multi-currency wallets. At the same time, it works and is consistent with us to have not only just our wallets, but a variety of different wallets that members can have the ability to go from one currency to the next within the same wallet. I think that's important. That's one reason why we have the relationship with SaveNode. There are more details that we're going through in really fleshing out the partnership, but we made an announcement. They made an announcement. It's the case, some members of the team have recognized it, but then I was looking for more detail before I spread it to the community and that you would know, but it makes sense now. If you'd like to do some research, you can go to SaveNode's website and then inquire more about what they're doing in the space. But we partnered with them specifically for the case of having a multi-currency wallet, both for iOS and for Android as well. The next partnership that we have that you may not be aware of, but we've already made the agreement in principle and we're moving down the path, is with SaveNode. Not SaveNode. In addition to SaveNode, Titrium. If some of you are familiar with crypto lending services such as Salt, it's the case. Titrium is a Masternode-based competitor of Salt, not necessarily a competitor of us in any way, but they do have a solution that they're building where they have not only the multi-currency wallets, but they also have web wallets. And in addition to that, our currency will be one of the currencies that can be used where members could obtain, if they like, fiat currency loans based on LPC. So it's the case you have LPC, LGS, you won't have to swap out of LPC and LGS to go into fiat. You can just loan your currency, LPC and LGS, against that. You can actually get fiat against those currencies, those two currencies. And I think that's a great alternative to compete with Salt. So during pullbacks and retracements, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent just a bit. It's the case when there's retracements and there's like when a bubble's bursting or when there's a major pullback, it's the case that industry typically consolidates. When you're consolidating, you have more genuine projects, more solid projects that are not just based on a white paper and a couple folks who don't show their faces at all, and they launch on, say, CryptoBridge or any other exchange, and then they have valuations of tens of millions of dollars. Though I think those days are over. Investors in this space, particularly retail investors, they're a bit more sophisticated because we've been in this space. We've been in bull runs. We've been in pullbacks. We have experience now in evaluating different projects, looking not only at the value proposition of the project itself, we're looking at also the team and looking at the community. I think Titrium, in addition to SaveNode, and also our projects, LGS, LPC, these are value-based projects. These are long-term projects. Because of that, we're building infrastructure, and I think it makes sense that we should begin to look more of where we have overlap. And if it's the case that there's a project that's much farther along in one aspect where we do have overlap, it makes sense to partner. Having our base wallets in place right now, even though it's the case we are doing iOS development and we already have the Android wallets out, but having multi-currency wallet, having web-based wallets, and I think web-based wallets help to reduce, even though you do open yourself up for potential hacks of a web-based application, it's the case we're handling some of those issues related to some of the desktop exploits. So they would need to think of a different attack vector to hack those wallets. But it's the case, I do think web wallets should be an alternative as well, in addition to having the mobile wallet and the desktop wallets. So I think these relationships that we're building in place in partnerships, Eurex.io with the obtaining the banking license, SaveNode and Titrium with the web-based wallets, Titrium in particular with the ability to not only store currency in the web-based wallet or iOS or Android wallet, but also the ability to obtain fiat against those currencies if you choose. And there's also with SaveNode, it's the ability to have a one-click either Masternode or smart investing service on their mobile application. So it would reallocate your portfolio of different currencies that you have on your SaveNode application, which I think is a strength. So those are just some of the partnerships that we have in place. And one partnership in particular that we already have that we've mentioned, and I didn't mention this one, the partnership that we have with Lumina. We do have a partnership that's been long-standing, but we're moving into a phase where we have agreed in principle to do a pilot with a South African retailer. This entity or individuals associated with the entity itself, we're looking to do a pilot within one store and then move on to multiple stores. That entity belongs to a larger global brand of retailers across the world, around 3,800 retail stores, brick and mortar, and in addition to a web-based presence. So we're looking to not only build the point of sale devices and payment gateways for the brick and mortar locations, but also payment gateways for the web-based application. So payment gateways, web-based application, and in the brick and mortar location, the point of sale devices and the ATMs. We submitted that proposal. They evaluated it, and it's the case that we're moving forward, and they've agreed in principle to move forward. So it was based upon an initial inquiry that we got from them in the retail group within South Africa. I think it's a great strategic partnership, and moving into different geographies of the world and seeing how our systems work. We look forward to launching the point of sale devices in December, and they will be one of the pilot customers, in addition to a couple that we will announce here in the United States. So I'll take a quick pause around the partnerships, and then we could move forward from there.
Nothing about partnerships just yet.
Okay. Also, as well, I know that we mentioned earlier, and just a quick note again on the Lumina partnership, they are kicking off several projects related to AR and VR. I want to strongly emphasize on those again. And once again, you can contact me or you can contact Patrick within the Discord. And once again, we're paying members in LGS, LPC for them to complete work in the AR and VR project. Yeah. In the first project, I'll let Pat talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that. So essentially the first project that's kind of off and running is we're creating augmented reality modules around like a national monument here in the United States, right? And I think what we're looking for specifically are folks who have programming chops, right? I know that a lot of the work is being done in Unity 3D, so folks who have familiarity with that platform would be great to talk to. Unity 3D, I believe, is based on C# scripting, so anybody who's got familiarity with that kind of stuff, love to talk to you. The deal is, basically one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to get folks listed in Lumina's database of freelancers so that when projects arise, we can go out to the community, we can tap the kind of resources that we know are present within the community. And the nice thing about signing up in that freelancer database is once you kind of complete your profile and take a little bit of like pre-assignment assessment, you'll get paid a small amount in LPC. So LPC for not too much effort. And then of course, when you actually do get live work, you'll be compensated in LPC as well. So anybody who wants to talk more about that, like either in general or the specific AR project that's coming up, please feel free to hit me up on Discord. My ID is PDB124, and we'll talk.
Yes, and another thing that I like to mention, even though we don't talk a lot about Lumina's, they're doing a lot of things related to LPC. In particular, not only the work in terms of having masternodes deployed within their network already and using it for a variety of different purposes, but also they built in, and I've seen some of that work where the wallets, LPC wallets, are deployed within their human capital management system. So it's the case, once you sign up on Expert Source Pro, you'll have your wallet available there, and then you can actually transport funds from your wallet to either your wallet on Expert Source Pro into the wallet that's on your desktop or on your mobile device. So it's a lot of back-end work, particularly as it relates to blockchain-based applications incorporated within human capital management systems. So not only how they're beginning to develop more modules using members of the community, but also in how they're beginning to transform their organization. And I think it's a great partnership that we haven't emphasized enough, but I do think they deserve much more attention than what we're giving. I think we should probably put out a press release or something like that to help out. But here's their website. But once again, you can either contact me or you can contact Patrick, and we can move forward. So I'll pause to see if there, and I'll take any general questions now, because I know we have a lot of people on the line.
We do, yeah, and we got some questions. Okay, so I'll just roll on down the line in order of asking. Let's see, so there's a question about the website. Why is the website not updated? Some links are not working, like the Masternode guide, and it misses all the important news facts. Outside of that, it looks quite dated, especially with these beveled buttons and spinning logo. Why not hire, maybe from the community, a graphics or website designer and put the website, give the website a refresh, I guess. Also, there's a suggestion that that the website should have like a blog, a blog or something like that, so that we have a sort of up to the moment relay of what's going on, at any given point with the coin.
Yes, I do concede to the notion that we need to update our website. We haven't placed that as much as a priority, but focus more on some of the things related to getting partnerships in place, building out assembling teams to be able to build out our point of sale devices, and that work is actually in progress in doing some of that development. But we have, candidly, to be honest, we have not updated the website as we should have. Perhaps it is the case that we should engage a member from the community. If you are a member of the community and you have some high-speed, low-drag web development skills, and you would like to be involved in that process, taking some of a lot of the information that we have within our Discord channel and what we've done within certain videos. I do think these videos should be somewhere like on a blog each week, where somebody summarizes it and places it on the website, so you can go directly to the website and view that information and not necessarily have to go specifically to our YouTube channels, either LightPay Coin Americas or LightPay Coin in general. So Give us some suggestions. I'm open. If you have those skills, reach out.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so a discussion that the price is going down because devs are dumping their coins. Is that true?
Well, it's the case if you look at some, and that's not true. So it looks as if every time that there's downward price action, there's some assumption or we get accusations about us dumping the coins. If we were dumping the coins and all the coins were dumped, you get a resignation from me saying, hey, I can no longer participate in the project. I have other time commitments and things that I'm doing. Why would I dump the coins to have very, very small amounts of coin in LPC in order to be able to and at the same time dump all the coins and still continue to work on the project? I have no incentive. I have no incentive if I have zero LPC. So
Yep.
just thinking
Yeah,
about
and a couple people, just to let you know, Damon, a couple folks kind of sort of answered via text that question. You know, that's been kind of addressed a couple of different times on the webinar and things like that. I actually think that it's perfectly fine to ask those questions. I mean, I know new folks come in kind of every week, and you know, I would encourage folks to go back, watch previous webinars and things like that. But you know, transparency is a good thing, and I think, you know, though it may be repetitive, we're fine answering those kinds of questions. So
yes, and
but
I
I think
think
all that needs to be said is it's not the case, right?
so. I'll say what he just said. It's not the case. But guys, if you're interested, look at the top web addresses. Look at the top. Look at the top public keys and the amounts associated with those public keys. Look at the movements in terms of who's selling and what may be happening. I think there should be evidence in any time there's a particular claim, and not every time that there's a pullback to make the claim that the developers are dumping the coins.
Yeah, there was a specific question about somebody selling to themselves or something. Let me see if I can find that one. It's like a specific kind of username about like somebody kind of trading with himself or herself, I suppose, to generate volume.
Sure. Yeah, I know last week we got a question on our YouTube on our webinar that someone is trading to themselves. So, and I asked that particular user to point out specifically the ID. If it's a member of our team, let us know what evidence that you have to suggest that it is a member of our team. And the question I would ask specifically, how does doing wash trades where you're selling to yourself, you're buying from yourself, how does that help the community? How does that help the market cap of the coin? It could be, and once again, we can go through a variety of alternatives. There could be bots that one bot is buying and selling from itself because it's put out the buys earlier and it put out the sales. It put out the sales earlier, and then it's just making the buys if the buys are at the right price. It could be an exchange looking to increase its volume because it increases its rank on coin market cap. It could be a wide variety of different things, but the thing that I would ask once again is, how does it help the community, considering that I have a fiduciary responsibility and the team has a fiduciary responsibility to look out for the best interest of the network and the investors within the network. So think what purpose that would solve. And say, for instance, and not saying that it is the case, but what if it is the case that somebody's selling to themselves? Then what? What does that prove?
Yep. Okay. Another question here is, do you have updates on the LPC point of sale devices and ATMs?
Sure. In terms of, and to let you know, to give you a insight in terms of what we're doing in the development, right now in the fall of 2018, it's all of the development around the software associated with the point of sale device, because it's the first to launch. And we're doing this iteratively, where we're developing the software and the hardware associated with the point of sale device for release in December. We're looking at late December in having a beta version ready to be deployed using the Logis app to the different partners that we have located around the world. So we're looking for deployment around the latter part of December and beginning part of January to our beta clients that we have in place, like the partnership I mentioned earlier with the South African retailer. We will be distributing those point of sale devices to them. The ones in the franchises here in the United States, we will be sending those to those entities as well for beta testing around late December, beginning of January. But it's a case development work is already in progress. The object-oriented analysis design, some of the software tools that will be used in the work, the team being assembled, that work is already in progress. The team right now in development, it includes myself, there are a couple members of the community, and the members from UCF. Note, the students, we've already had a kickoff meeting. Some of the students, we've already issued the task orders. The students are coming on slowly but surely. And it's the case as that begins to really kick off and the students have all their tools in place. You know, you're talking about the PyCharm, you're talking about the databases that we're going to be using in addition to our blockchain-based database. And our meeting schedules that we're going to have, getting the GitHub repositories squared away for adding on different members and checking that code. It's the case because it's not ready for release, you won't be able to view that code publicly. But we're looking for deployment in the latter part of December, completing the MVP the first part in mid-December. The ATM development, the software development, will issue out the task orders around the last part of November, December for that software development for the ATMs. At that point, we will look to have the banking license in place for a few different geographies, and move down the path of either finding a partner, for a hardware partner that's in place, or using some of the partners that we already have, who already have Bitcoin ATMs in their locations. There's one partner right now already have Bitcoin ATMs, but yet they're not functional in the sense where we need to have the near field communication technology, so that we would perhaps find a partner in place to do that, or just begin to have UCF build that prototype and us find a manufacturer for that hardware device. But it's the case that the ATMs are not scheduled for beta testing until the latter part of the summer, beginning part of fall 2019. So we'll update, and I think it makes sense to have that updated on the website as well, in terms of the release schedules for the beta versions. And note, we will be iterating as we get feedback from those beta testers and clients that we have for both point of sale and for the ATMs. I hope that's clear.
Okay. Another question: why is there such a massive discrepancy between the votes for LPC and LGS on CoinEx? The comment is that the LGS votes don't seem organic.
And note, we do have campaigns for both LPC and for LGS. And these are marketing campaigns that we've had in the community, within the Discord, and also within Telegram. And just to note, there's a huge discrepancy between LPC and LGS. Because of those campaigns, I'm not sure if it's the case that we have as much engagement within LPC community as we do within the LGS community, but it's the case that we are paying for votes. We're members, as we noted, in both the Discord for LGS and the Discord in LPC. There's a reward for going through the process of signing up, going through KYC. There are rewards that you have for going through the process of downloading the app and posting your CET address, and also posting your LGS address. there's a reward for you going through, and those are random rewards, random drawings that we have. At the same time, everyone who votes, receives payment for voting. So there's no discrepancy in terms of how we've laid out the campaigns. We've had different sets of individuals come to us from various communities to help us with the voting for LGS. We have not had as many come through for voting for LPC. So that's an obvious discrepancy that I see. But considering that we have over 10,000 members within LPC, there's no reason why we should have that discrepancy, because the reward is the same. You vote, you receive LPC. You vote, you receive LGS. So at this point, it's hard for me to give a clear explanation as to why that's happening, because it's the case we're incentivizing both groups, LPC and LGS. So if you're interested in helping out, please let me know. We're open. But at this point, it's hard for me to explain, the discrepancy. Perhaps it's motivation on one sense. I'm not necessarily saying that LGS members are more motivated than LPC members. Perhaps there are different priorities that are in place. But once again, those are the explanations that I can give and rationale. Both are being, there's parity in terms of how each are being treated. But in fact, it's the case LPC, that campaign was listed and advertised well before the campaign for LGS. So, and then it was even in terms of the distribution where votes were the same. And then it was a 2-to-1 ratio. And then it went to well over, now it's the case, I think there's about 1,500 votes LGS versus less than 30 for LPC. Somewhat unfortunate, but once again, let's mobilize the community. If it's something that's important, then members will vote. If it's not important to members, and right now we have 32 participants on the webinar, but how many have actually gone through the process? So I would just encourage everyone to, if you're taking it seriously and want to take it seriously, go ahead and go through the process and vote. That's a top 10. It's a top 10 exchange, and they do a lot of things for us in terms, if we were able to have LGS and LPC listed on that exchange. LBC, you're talking about a mobile wallet that a multi-currency mobile wallet that you don't necessarily have to build, even though we do have some partnerships in place to actually have those wallets for us, multi-currency wallets for us. But to have that additional option of having other multi-currency wallets that you can easily swap, I think that's a good thing. Same thing for LGS, having that capability of having your multi-currency wallets. So it's up to you at the community. We can only attempt to put the mechanisms in place to incentivize the behavior that we would like to see. And the behavior that we would like to see is lots of votes for LGS and lots of votes for LPC. Obviously, in this case, we're seeing lots of votes for LPC. Everyone's getting incentivized for the work that they're doing. So that's what I can say right now. And for members who have voted and gone through that process, just to let you know, because of the overwhelming amount of votes, I'm getting to one vote at a time, making those payments. So I'm getting overwhelmed more so in community activity, incentivizing votes for LPC, LGS, rather than taking care of some of the business associated with the programming that we have to do for the point of sale devices. So I'll be looking more towards the community members to help us out in handling some of that work. Some of the moderators, just expect me knocking on your door to help us out in getting some of the rewards paid out to individuals who've already voted. Open for follow-ups.
Cool. I think that's all the questions we've got. Larry, did I miss anything?
No, we've got them all. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey guys.
All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, and just to close it out, man, I do appreciate everybody and you're weathering the storm. I know it's rough. And that we've been through tougher times. in terms of, I know everybody's maybe somewhat sad about price action. Sometimes you see the prices down, it may reflect um, that everyone's not happy. You may not be happy, but when the price action is moving in a positive direction, everyone's not necessarily concerned, may not necessarily even be happy, but they're focused on other things because this is taking care of itself. We're going to go through rough times. We're going to go through great times. And I have an expectation that we have a strong community and no one's bailing. Right now, looking at the number of masternodes in place, the master long-term holders are still long-term holders. And we're still sticking to our percentage of coins locked up in a sense, and having those large number of masternodes across and growing in each of the communities each and every day. If we were going in a negative direction, I would think that something is wrong. But because we're giving updates, we're keeping the community informed, we're making progress in our work. Although we do have some things that we need to work on in terms of our communication channels. You're talking about our website. At the same time, I mean, some of the other things mentioned too, in terms of community engagement. How can we get the communities more engaged and keep you guys at a point where you want to log on every day to the Discord, you want to help out and talk to friends more about LPC and LGS. You want to keep each other encouraged because these are some difficult times that we're facing right now. This is one of the biggest bear markets that we've experienced in a long while. And this is something that you could be able to tell your kids about, grandkids about 20, 30 years from now, or even your grandkids already, about this experience that we're going through. So I do hope that you take it into historical context, understanding the revolution that's taking place and how you're playing a part as being one of the very early innovators. So with that said, I love all you guys in the community, and let's just keep a positive light, because this is a growth industry. It's a growth industry. We're going through challenges, but it's a growth industry, and it's a great time to be in the space.
We got one more, Damon. I think that just popped up while you were talking. Can you say a little bit about what the new LPC member Colin is up to? I believe I saw Colin in the list of participants there, but yeah, maybe you can talk about what he's up to a little bit.
Sure. We've tried to get Colin on the webinars, but he's in Shanghai, and it's very late for him. We will have him on at some point where he is engaging in the community. He's doing work related to the planning and operations of not only LGS, but also LPC. So we've had meetings scheduled, we've had conversations, we've spoken. He actually visited the offices that we have in Dallas. We had extensive conversations about the strategic goal of both LPC and strategic goals of LGS. Because of his experience in supply chain management, we do expect him to have a greater role in LGS and getting the operations as it relates to supply chain in place. We will have the developers associated with building the LGS applications in place once we kick out the task orders, as I mentioned earlier, in November of this year. Yes, November this year. That's the kickoff for the task orders associated with LGS and the ATM machines as well. But then it's the case that he's doing planning work, getting the operations of the organizations, both LGS and LPC, in place. So Colin's busy. If you want to reach out to him, I think he has the Bruce Lee icon I think he could probably chat it out if you want to just chit chat with him on Discord as well. So that's the update that I have with Colin. We have weekly scheduled meetings in place where we have conversations, and we talk we talk or communicate via every other day. So I think he's a great contribution to the team, and he will be on webinars himself to give you some updates as well.
Okay, and then I think one final question, and this is one I think maybe that we've heard before, but you can probably just briefly address it. So who is the dev for LPC?
The devs for LPC, we have several devs within the LPC community. It's myself, and I'm not only serving in the role as CEO, but I'm also a developer. That's one. you're talking about Vladimir. He's also on our website. If you go to LPC website, it's myself, Vladimir, and Brenimir, who are the developers for LPC. So it's the three of us so far. And also you could see us in terms of our commits on github.com. As if you look at GitHub and the LPC project, you can see us as developers in the project. You see some commitments. We haven't made some updates to the code just yet. I mean, we haven't seen like a major issue either come through a community making a request for update. But then there's some issues that we did recognize coming from the PivX community, and we did make edits to the code. We did a code review when we submitted that code. But for the most part, it's Brenimir, Vlad, and myself. But go to the LPC website and you can see the developers that we have. Founder Vlad, co-founder myself, and you also see Brenimir.
Cool. Okay, and I think that's it.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. 11:10.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
See you soon.